Do you have city water? Just because your city water might meet regulations, it doesn't actually mean it's safe to drink. City water goes through a huge process of water treatment, not water filtration. You have to keep that in mind. If you go to your city, if you just Google it, you're going to find out it's called water treatment. Now, why do they say treatment? Because they're adding something to the water. They're not literally taking things away. So you have to keep that in mind when you're thinking about, does your city offer you good quality water, or are there contaminants that are getting through their water system? If you are relying on city water alone, trusting the outdated infrastructure that they have and the minimum standards that were set back in 1984 and started in 1972, then your family's health and especially your children's health is at risk. Let's talk about water filtration versus water treatment. If you take a look at your water supply, like a huge portion, 90-some% of the city water supply has what's called water treatment plants. Yes, treatment, not water filtration. Water filtration would mean that we're ripping the bad stuff off the water droplet. Instead, water treatment means that they add chemicals to the water supply, which helps coagulate or helps flocculate the stuff that's adjacent to the water droplet. So let's think about the water supply. If you have Lake Michigan water, for instance, that's a huge lake. That lake that they're pulling the water from, there's going to be trees and sticks and frogs and animals and other little particles and other stuff that's out there. And so those things are going to be sitting alongside the water as they're pulling it into the Jardine water plant. So what do they need to do? They need to coagulate and they need to flocculate, words we might never have even heard of before, right? And then we need to do that. And they use chemicals like aluminum sulfate and polymers to get added to bind to the dirt that's adjoining the water droplet, the other sticks and frog parts and all that other stuff, fish parts, and it grabs those and pulls them to the bottom of the basically big, huge vat of water that they had that they bring in from Lake Michigan or from other water sources. Sometimes it comes from under the ground. The next thing that they do is they'll use sedimentation. That's where they allow the water to sit in a large vat. And again, more particles fall out of the water supply so that they can take more of the water droplet that's from the water. Again, no filtration, nothing touching the water droplet to actually take that water and make it cleaner. The next thing that they'll do is do some filtration. So they'll actually run it through sand. Yes, sand. Sand's not really cleaning it. Sand is really just taking out those other parts that are left behind. So as they run it through sand, it then leaves the plant and they add more chlorine to it and send it off to your house. Now, why did they do that? Well, they added chlorine to actually oxidize stuff off the water droplet, but then once it gets through the sand, they have to test the level of chlorine and then they need to transport that out to your house. So it's sort of like, I don't know, we have to think that we have to wrap that, right, with something as it transports through the plumbing pipes. Now, why do they need to do that? Because the plumbing pipes themselves are dirty. There's years and years of buildup of other gunk and other chemicals and junk that's in there, and so that's got to continue to the house. So they've added a layer of chlorine to the water droplet all the way to get to your house. So I like to look at it like a Snicker bar wrapper, right? We put a wrapper around a Snicker bar because you got people, dirty hands at the factory, then you got an assembly line, their dirty hands are touching it, then they got to take it and put it in a box, and then you got the box people that's got to touch it, then it gets shipped to a warehouse where it's going to sit. Well, it could collect dust and a bunch of other junk, right? So they have that wrapper on there. And then from there it goes on to a truck. So a truck driver grabs it, then they send it to a store. That store personnel take the guy in the back or the girl in the back, they take it out of the box out, and then they got to unbox it, and then they got to put it on the shelves. Meanwhile, they got all these dirty hands. So that's why they put a wrapper on the Snicker bar. Well, no different than the Snicker bar is chlorine that we've attached to the water droplet. It's to cover it and coat it as it's being transported to your home. Now, when it gets to your home, do you take that wrapper off or do you leave that on? So what we're proposing to you today that it makes a lot of sense that you get yourself a whole house water filter system in order to take that wrapper off that water droplet. And also what it can do is not only is it going to take the wrapper off, but in the case of water, chlorine is a known carcinogen. Yes, it's a known carcinogen. If you read the side of the bottle, it says, danger, danger, don't inhale, don't drink, don't let it touch your skin. But yet in small amounts, the city is mandated to use that. Now, it is a good thing that they do that because it keeps bacteria, which could make all of us violently sick, and that did happen. And thanks to the issues that happened in the late 1800s in the city of Chicago, where they had sewage back up into Lake Michigan, and they drew that water back in, and people died by the thousands, according to reports. Again, I don't have, the reporting wasn't done very well back then. I tried to do some research for you, but rumor or the statements are in the world that thousands of people died, and so that was part of the systems, or part of what created the urgency of adding chlorine to water. Now, city of Chicago and other cities, they move the water intake out further and further and further into the lake, because what we know is that when there is a 1/4 inch of rainfall in Chicago, for instance, it produces 5 billion gallons of raw sewage that goes back into Lake Michigan. So the same thing happens with other major cities, right? Detroit or anything along any major lake. So that's why it's important to keep in mind that the cities have to add the chlorine to the water to kill that bacteria. But boy, when it comes into your house, is that something that you really want? Do you want to still bathe in that chlorine that says danger? Do you want your darks to be washed with just a drop of chlorine every single time you wash your darks? Well, darks become gray over time, right? Your blues become light blue. So, and it eventually ruins the clothing that you have, which requires you to spend more money on that clothing. So, when you think about when the water comes into your home, and when you have city water, there's a lot of things that you have to take into consideration. We want to, as human beings, we want to believe that the government did a good thing. But one day, from a client of mine, when I thought that the government was doing a good thing, I asked myself, or the client asked me, Andrew, when I was trying to tell him he really didn't need a system because he got his water that was approved by the EPA, that client said to me, Andrew, tell me one good thing that the government does right. And I was like, oh my God, you're so right. There's not much that the government does do right. And so from that point on, I said, maybe I really need to research the water quality and research what levels that they set their standards to. And that's when I became astonished to the fact that they were created in 1972, updated in 1984. And since then, the only one contaminant that they've added was thanks to President Biden and the EPA, which was a few years ago, which is forever chemicals. And I have many videos on forever chemicals like PFASs, PFOAs. These are basically Teflon and 3M's water repellent products that we've had on tons and tons of products, which includes, I don't know, you could say, includes everything from your carpet to your clothing to a bunch of different things that have now got into the Earth's crust that then poisons our water supply. And it's rampant everywhere. So with that said, you want to do your own homework and say to yourself, geez, if those things are attached to the water droplet, well, maybe I do need a filter to take that off and put it down the drain. And if that's something that makes sense to you, which makes sense to me, I usually recommend NSF 58 certified reverse osmosis system, and for the whole home, an NSF 44 certified system that will take radium, barium out of the water supply as well. Also, some of these can be designed to have carbon included with them that can dechlorinate the water and make the water way more enjoyable for you and your family. Can you imagine now taking a shower where you don't smell chlorine, which is toxic to your lungs? You have to remember, your lungs have little what's called celluli, little hairs inside. And what they do is they take what you inhale and put that right into your bloodstream. Yes, we all learned that in high school. Do you guys remember? So, I mean, to me, it's sort of logical, like, whoa, wait a second. I don't know if I want that, right? Why would I want that chlorine that I can noticeably smell to go right into my bloodstream? Oh, well, the thing is we want to believe that it's okay. Again, it's like in America, we've sort of have this desire to believe and believe because we don't want to look at the other things that can cause us harm. But my suggestion, my proposal to you is to consider it yourself. If you want to live a longer, more healthy life, then to me, it begins with the air and the water you consume. Obviously, also the food you consume. So, since the body's made up of 65, 70% water, you're bringing about the same or a little more. It seems to me like the first step is water droplets. Our body is made of that, so how do we get that as clean as possible? How do we inhale steam from a shower that's as clean as possible? When we shower, the last thing I want is, as this evaporates, to have the chlorine or the minerals left behind. Why? Because the minerals will plug the pores of the skin. And when you do that, it causes dry, itchy skin. When you do that, you buy lotions to put on your skin. Yes, you might even go see a doctor about, we've had lots of clients who come call us and they're like, oh my God, I went to a doctor and they talked to me about how I could have eczema, and oh my God, I'm taking these steroid shots and I'm doing this. And it's like, wait a second, it can be sometimes, not all the time, those things can be corrected based on the quality of your water. By the way, if you have 3 people that you love and care for that could benefit from watching this video or you're concerned about their health and their welfare, please share this video. Please click like, because that's how we get more popular, and share that with your friends and family. Join our group of people that support us, and we really do appreciate that, the opportunity to serve you. So if you don't mind, we'd totally appreciate that. Now, that eczema story is true. I've had client after client. I mean, our business has been going on for 53 years. So we have uncovered this only in the past 25 years, where we started understanding, oh my God, a lot of these people's issues are coming as a result, or are there as a result of the water. And so we realize so much more today than we've ever realized before, that water plays an intrinsic role to the health and welfare of our bodies and our families' bodies. And not only is it there, but it is also intrinsic to the health of your water system inside your home. I mean, calcium, as an example, magnesium can clog the plumbing pipes and make them shut. It can ruin your water heater, ruin your dishwasher, ruin your laundry machine. It can cause that white film on the shower stall door. It can ruin the tile that you have in the shower. It can ruin your faucets, your toilets. I mean, people complain a lot of times to me, I have gray rings around my toilet. What is that from? Well, it's the rock. It's the minerals that are swirling around and around, and that's causing a lot of these issues. It causes dishes and glassware to fade or get hazed over. So there's a variety of benefits that whole home filtration can do for you and your family. In addition to that, a reverse osmosis system that's certified by NSF 58 and also made to be able to sometimes add minerals back to the water, though made in America, by the way. Those are really great things for you to consider. So please keep that in mind as you're evaluating whether or not you really need to trust the government if you have city water. So if you don't trust the government for city water, please click out our link below. We'd be happy to help you out any way possible. We can give you guidance as you research other companies out there. Again, you can reach us at angelwater.com. You can call us at 847-382-7800. And of course, you can comment here. We do our best to respond to all your comments. I've introduced people to other great vendors all over the country, whether it's in Phoenix, Arizona, in New Mexico, in Tennessee. I got friends in this business all over the place. So hopefully, if you need help, we can certainly try to introduce you to someone who has a similar mindset to me and to you if you're looking for healthier water for you and your family. Again, my name is Drew. I'm here for one purpose, and that's to serve you.